Are we recording? Alright, what's up everybody? Mon13 here. Finally back. I'm sorry it took so long for me to make this video. Rounding up finals for this year. So, for, college and stuff. So, rounding up finals. The reason I'm doing this one is so I can take a break from writing my final essays. Because, God, I have to write so many pages. But, enough about that. Let's get on with the video. So, last we left this part off was All Might asking the main boys to come to him with the Battle of Camino, even though knowing that it's slightly out of the question. And yes, the reason he's asking is because he knows how strong the boys are here, which gets things started here. Now then, the roster of students actually going to battle All for One right now are about simple as follows: is Izuku, Katsuki, and Ejiro. Please, I hope I'm saying his name right. Basically, the three strongest members of Class 1A right about now. For obvious reasons. So yeah, now we get to going to where the bar is. Well, also, while yes, some of the parents did try to protest against their kids doing this, obviously the boys said they're going anyway. So now we start this off with everyone preparing to go to the League of Villains hideout. Things go about simple as in canon. All Might knocks on the door. Pizza, smash, yada yada. Now then, yes, All for One teleports everyone out of the way. As things go mostly in canon from here until All for One decides to blow up the little Nomu factory when they hear about it. Which, this is where things hang, as All Might, as Izuku and Katsuki are already out running to where the explosion was, and they get there to see All for One, and they can feel his pressure. This man is about evil as incarnate. They feel the killing intensity in his own power. Now then, after they shake this off for themselves, this is when All Might and Ejiro finally land. I'm just gonna start with Kirishima honestly telling the two that, with him telling the two that they're way too fast for their own good sometimes, with him cracking his knuckles, along with his electric sparks bouncing around him. Now then, this is when All for One starts his game of talking shit, before finally letting out an air pressure blast, which everyone dodges. But now then, the first one that goes for an attack is Katsuki, as he uses Chaos Control to teleport behind All for One, a Chaos Spear already floating in hand, try and hit him, with All for One dodging it, and Katsuki almost immediately letting the Chaos Spear disperse into his hands, basically letting it come more into a blast as he launches a Chaos Explosion, basically engulfing All for One. As the next thing he does know, though, is that he's hit by an air pressure blast sent back into a building. Now then, Izuku next. Well, this is when All Might then proceeds to charge him, with All for One catching his hands, and Izuku and Ejiro seeing this opening. That leads to Ejiro jumping on Izuku's arms as he uses One for All to launch Kirishima at All for One, with him getting a decently good enough hit into his helmet, sending him flying back into another building, with All for One shooting it. Shooting a yellow beam coming out, hitting Kirishima and sending him flying away, with him landing in the dirt a little bit away. Now then, let's get back with it. This is when All for One then comes out of the building rubble, with him laughing and even clapping his hands as he tells All Might he tells All Might that he's promising weapons And then he proceeds to talk to the boys, telling them that their ability to use chaos interests him, and that and after this fight is over, he'll definitely be using them as Nobu. Or more so to study, to see exactly how they tick and everything, as his arm, as well, so many quirks. As he proceeds to open his palm, as a spew of flames burst from it at All Might. Actually, you know what? Instead of flames, how about lava? I feel like you would have a lava quirk. He's evil. Yeah. As lava appears from his hands, with trying to tag All Might, who dodges, as Izuku then comes in and comes from the side, charging one for all in his, charging a 20% Delaware smash in his leg, kicking All for One, who just moves his hand up to block it, grabbing Izuku by his leg, and basically chucking him into Katsuki, sending them both crashing into the ground. Now then, this is when All for One decides to kick it up a notch, as his hand starts, I guess more so his entire arm. His entire arm starts, bulging and ripping apart, with multiple quirks peering through it. Basically, the same giant fist as in canon, as he launches a massive air pressure blast that damn near eviscerates a couple of buildings. With All Might, yes, taking the brunt of it, but still, as the boys are knocked back, basically being flung away. Now then, yes, they are able to regain their footing, but a little dazed. Now then, with this, All for One does, again, compliment the boys on their strength, and that they would have made great villains. As he didn't ask something, as he then charges up his hand again with power, but obviously the lady that was hurt, basically asks All Might for help, and this not only resonates with All Might but all of the boys too, as this leads to Katsuki and Ejiro telling Zuko and All Might to use all their power, as Katsuki makes chaos spears, and Ejiro charges up his fist with his, power, obviously. With the two rushing him All for One, basically to keep him busy. Now then, Katsuki's the first one to go, speeding up the All for One, swinging at him with the chaos spears. Yet, All for One sees that this is obviously a diversion, as Ejiro comes up from behind him, gliding from behind him, to deliver a punch that he uses the barrier. I don't know if it's a barrier, the yellow barrier. I don't know if it's a barrier quirk or air pressure. Since I swear the movie called it a air pressure barrier, I think. Or just, I don't know the name. Or no, not reflect barrier. Basically the yellow barrier. With this All for One stopping the fist, as the barrier does proceed to crack a bit, which actually gets him intrigued, with Katsuki proceeding to grab on the All for One. All for One does blast Ejiro away, but this moment of not seeing gives Katsuki a chance, as he grabs on the All for One and starts glowing red, with him yelling out Chaos Blast as a giant red explosion encompasses both of them. Now then, once the dust clears, All for One is actually hurt by this somewhat, and he's also holding Katsuki by the throat, as he finally gets a good look at Katsuki's face and utters out Kudo, as he then proceeds to start strangling Katsuki. And though you can't see his face, there's nothing but rage in his tone while saying this. Now then, with All for One being distracted by this, it leaves him open for another punch by Kirishima, coming back up again, hitting him hard enough to send him flying back down to the ground. As this is when All for One sees Izuku and All Might both basically charging up all the power they can, as the two proceed to rush. All for one, realizing the type of situation he's in, he proceeds to make his second arm grow to the same length as he clashes with the father and son. Now then, while he's doing this, something ends up hitting him in the back. A chaos spear. As multiple proceed to hit him in the back, distracting him enough to where his defenses fall short, with Ijiro coming down from the sky, hitting him as hard as he can in the head, cracking his mask a good bit. Now then, with this is the opening that they need as Zuko and All Might proceed to switch the arms there, fighting All For One before both yelling out United States is smashed, proceeding to hit All For One in the face and slamming him in the ground, creating a tornado that's actually like way bigger. Basically creating a giant tornado and basically throwing wind everywhere. As when the air finally clears, Zuko and All Might are standing while All For One is down. All four are standing while All For One is down. Now after this, All Might and Zuko both raises their hands up to the sky, with basically the whole world cheering as normal. Now then, for the lady, Katsuki teleports over to her and takes off the rubble. And with this, police shows up. All Might tells everyone, "You're next." You know, things like that, yada yada. And with that, we skip a couple of days in a hospital. Now, yes, the dorms are still put in place, with All Might asking Inko, with him obviously still which Inko actually relents a little bit easier in this timeline. I mean, since, here, Toshinori's her husband. So, yeah, I feel like she knows, she will obviously take his word protecting their son. Now then, with this, we skip somewhere to see, to see none other than Ivo Robotnik flying in his little spaceship. As he flies to an island in the sky, with him going to a giant green emerald and him placing the device on it that actively shatters this emerald, causing the island to fall to the ocean. Now, what comes out is a monster made of water, surprisingly. With this, Eggman can't help but laugh, knowing, as he calls this thing, chaos, telling him that it's time to go. Okay. With that, I'm going to end this part off here, since that was a good enough break, I got to get back to work. I promise that I can definitely promise this, that a lot more videos will be coming out during summer. As well, I'm not taking any summer classes, so, yeah. That being